Hi, it's Handy Andy Tech Tips here, and welcome to another tutorial. Now, we all know that Claude is good at writing code in modern languages and frameworks, like for example, React. That's because heaps of this code has made its way into the training dataset for AI models. But what about older languages, like BASIC? This was a very popular choice for beginner programmers in the early days of home computing, with 8-bit systems like the Commodore 64 including built-in BASIC interpreters. It continued to be used through the MS-DOS era in the form of QBASIC, and there was also a version called Visual Basic which could build Windows applications. So let's try and use Claude to build a game in Microsoft QBASIC. I'm going to try and create a clone of the old arcade classic Breakout. But we have a bit of a problem. QBASIC is a 16-bit DOS program and it can't run on my 64-bit Windows 11 computer, but it can run on the older 32-bit versions of Windows, so I decided to set up a virtual machine using a great tool called PCem, which lets you emulate all kinds of old hardware. I configured it to use a 233MHz Pentium MMX processor and 128 megs of RAM, which would have been a great setup in the late 90s. And then I installed Windows 98 2nd Edition. I love that classic startup sound. So if I go into my computer and look at the hard drive, you can see that I've copied over a folder called Old MS-DOS from the Windows 98 install CD, and it has a copy of QBASIC in there. I'll run it, and then it asks for some parameters, but I don't need to include any yet, so I'll just hit enter. And here we go, QBASIC is up and running. So I went back to Claude, and by the way, I'm using Sonnet 5 with high effort for this task, and I said, would you be able to write a simple Breakout style game? The paddles should be controlled with the left and right arrow keys. It then created one, and it listed some technical details. For example, the game runs in 256 colours, so it'll probably have colourful bricks at the top. And it output the code in the form of a BAS file, breakout.bas. So if I download this file, and I'll open it in WordPad just to check, and yep, here is all the code. Now the next challenge is to actually get this into the emulator. You can't just copy and paste text or even drag and drop files into PCem, so instead I turned to a very useful utility called WinImage. It lets you make a floppy disk image of various sizes, so I'll pick the standard 1.44 megabytes for a high density 3.5-inch disk. And then you can inject some files into it, so I'll add the breakout.bas file. Now that that's in there, we can save the image as an IMA file, and then go back to PCem and mount it as a virtual floppy disk in the A drive, like this. Now back in the emulator, I'll launch QBASIC again, but this time in the parameters, I'll type the location of our basic file, a:\breakout.bas, and then hit enter, and here it is. Now I'll test this in a minute, but first let's look at all of the main components. It has a few variables at the start to set up the screen size, the width of the paddle, the width of the bricks, and the number of rows and columns of the bricks, etc. Then it has a few subroutines, including those for starting a new game, the main game loop, which includes checks for brick collisions and when the ball bounces off the paddle or misses it, and then it has a routine for drawing the initial screen layout and also checks for when you win or lose a game, things like that. Well, the code doesn't look too bad, so let's give it a go. I'll run it and we'll see what happens. Well, the bricks look good, but the paddle and the ball are flickering quite a bit in the bottom of the screen. That's really annoying. So let's launch the ball by pressing the spacebar, and whoa, do you see that? It was so quick that you'd have no chance of catching that with a paddle. And also it didn't knock out a full brick, just a tiny bit from the bottom of it. Well, it's interesting, but it's clearly not working as intended. So I went back to Claude and told it about all of these issues. It then revised the code and said that it fixed the flicker by only redrawing the screen when the position of the ball or paddle actually changes. And it also replaced the for loop, which it previously used for timing, with an approach based on an actual timer function, which should help with the speed issues on faster processors like the one in my emulator. So I downloaded the new revised BAS file and imported it into the emulator using the virtual floppy disk again. And let's try it. Okay, well, it's immediately better. The paddle and the ball aren't flickering anywhere near as much now. So let's launch the ball. And oh dear, that's way too slow now. Way too slow. And it's still not knocking out an entire brick on the first hit. It's just taking a little sliver off the bottom. At this point, I decided to just go into the code and try to fix it myself. I changed the frame delay variable from 0.05 to 0.01 and the ball speed from 1.3 to 4. Now, that makes it run a lot faster, as you can see, but it still has that problem with the bricks requiring 2 hits with the ball to actually knock them out completely. So in order to troubleshoot that, I went to the area of the game loop subroutine where the brick collisions are detected, and I found the code where it removes the bricks. This is done by drawing a black rectangle over the brick, so I decided to change it to a red rectangle, and that's done by swapping the 0 to 12 here because they represent different colors, and I thought I'd see what happens. So I'll run it again, and see, this is interesting. You can see that the brick clearing rectangle is accidentally being drawn one row underneath the intended brick. Now, we couldn't see this when it was a black rectangle, obviously, but it looks like it has a slight overlap between the bottom of the brick on the last row and the top of the clearing brick, which is why it was taking a little sliver off the bottom. So that was great to figure that out. Armed with that knowledge, I made a few changes here, mainly changing the brick clearing rectangle's Y location, the vertical location, from row -1 to row -2, which moves it up to the correct row. And also removing the brick gap variable from being included in this calculation to fix some spacing and padding issues. And now, when I run it again, it's a playable game that works really well. You can see that the bricks are now being knocked out on the first hit. The game is running at exactly the right speed and everything looks pretty good. Perfect. But I wasn't done yet. I even managed to get this same Breakout game to run as a native Windows application in Visual Basic 6. This time, Claude not only provided the code, but also gave step-by-step instructions to set up the form or the window that the game runs in. It was simply a matter of adding several controls from the toolbox. For example, adding a little timer down here, which controls the game speed, and naming them in accordance with the variables in the code that Claude generated. I also added a picture box, which is where the game is drawn, and I adjusted a few of the properties, like making the background color black to make it look as similar as possible to the QBASIC version. Then I imported the code using the same virtual floppy disk approach and pasted it into the code window. Now, of course, Claude made quite a few changes to the code to accommodate the many differences between QBASIC and VB6, and I encountered a few additional issues, mainly around incorrect property names, but I was able to fix those myself. And here is the final result. A Breakout game that you can play on the Windows 98 desktop. I'm sure you'll agree, it's pretty nice. So, can Claude write basic code? The answer, surprisingly enough, is yes. But as you've seen, it does need a human in the loop to fix some of its mistakes, especially with more complex projects. But this does open up the possibility of making new software for older computers via LLMs, which is certainly an interesting avenue to explore. Well, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I'm Handy Andy and thanks so much for watching.